Ladies and gentlemen,
Please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas.
Just leave! Leave the house!
Bill Paxton was sure the cops were going to stop him.
There was 4 alternate endings. Not just the theatrical endings.
When I was growing up, there were Halloween things for kids that were legitimately scary.
Hey guys.
Hey. Yeah, I got a lady coming over. Maybe you got a...
You think I can get a sixer? Think I got a sixer?
Hello, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Horror Podcast. That's right. For the month of October, Forgotten Cinema will be sinking their teeth into a horror movie a week. Each episode, we will highlight a horror movie that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, maybe audiences were too scared to see it in theaters, or the movie simply didn't catch on in its initial run. We'll break down all aspects of the movie, as well as discuss what we love or perhaps don't love about the movie. But we'll always suggest that you revisit it. If you love our podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening to this podcast.
Nice.
Right?
Ooh.
Spooky.
That's the last time I'll do that.
We got a few weeks left of this.
We just started.
There's going to be a new horror sound every week.
Oh, no. Oh, like screeching cats? Right? Is that horror?
That's horrible.
Shut up.
Aw.
All right, so this, for start us off, it's no surprise because we announced it last week, and I mean, I think we probably have promos up as well. You shouldn't be shocked.
We're all about the season.
You shouldn't be shocked that we're doing the what neo-noir vampire western Near Dark. So I'm going to break that down for you. Near Dark stars Adrian Pasdar as Caleb. I don't know if I said that name right. Pasdar?
I don't know if they ever said his last name. I'm sure they said Mr. Pastor for the...
I don't know, whatever. As
dad.
Caleb Colton, Jenny Wright as May, Lance Henriksen as Jesse Hooker, Bill Paxton as Severin, Jeanette Goldstein as Diamondback. You may remember her as Vasquez in Aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Thomerson as Loy Colton, and Joshua John Miller as Homer.
Who the hell are you people?
I'm Jesse Hooker. I believe you already met May.
Diamondback.
I'm your worst fucking nightmare.
Severin.
And I'm Homer. That's Homer. Mispronounce it, and I wouldn't want to be you.
You don't know him from River's Edge. I know him from River's Edge. We talked about that, I think, a couple episodes ago. Or maybe
We
last
did.
episode.
When I looked up like what he was in, I was like, oh, yeah, we talked about that.
So anyway, this it's pretty much what I said, a vampire western. Movie starts off with Caleb going into town. He sees this beautiful girl, May. They spend the night together. Not in that way, but they just kind of like drive around and stuff like that. Yeah. And he pressures her for a kiss in his, creepy way. And she bites him, which turns him. The vampires pick him up. And, they're going to kill him. But May begs them to not kill him, because they're in love. And so they say he has to prove himself. And they go about, the next night, you kind of learn about like how they feed, how they hunt. And, that Caleb has to hunt like them. And he just can't do it, so he ends up just drinking from May. Like, she'll kill somebody, and then he'll drink from her to kind of keep his strength up. And then, I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, I know I'm simplifying it, but that's it. Like, he's with them, and they're a family. But like you have the other side of the story where his father and his young sister are searching for him, and they're traveling all across the Midwest. This takes place. Caleb's from Oklahoma, but they end up going to Kansas
and
but the father
goes to Texas.
It actually goes to Waco, and so it's kind of they all circle around. They towards the end they have this huge thing where they murder like all these guys in the bar. They escape, but Caleb lets one guy go because he can't kill him because they said and so they escape to a motel, and they're gonna. They're furious with him. They get to the motel. They get surrounded by cops in the midday. They break out. Caleb saves them. They go to another motel, and then through not kismet, but
A series of unfortunate
happenstance.
events.
Yeah, they actually run into Caleb's family, and then they try to kidnap his sister, and they're gonna kill the father, but they escape. And Caleb escapes with them, and then Caleb is saved by his father by transfusing his blood, so he becomes less vamp. They take the vampire blood out, and they put the human blood in, and he's a human now, and then there's like a final fight at the end, kind of. No, there's a final fight at the end. Again,
Standoff.
Again, that's probably not the best description. The log line was probably the best description of the movie. I should probably just left
I'll cut
it there.
the rest of this out.
Oh, damn. But anyways, let's. So that's pretty much what it's kind of in a nutshell. What it's about. Let me give you some production facts. This movie was released, as I said, in 1987. It was released on October 2nd, 1987, on only 262 screens, up against the father-son classic, Like Father, Like Son, starring Kirk Cameron and Dudley Moore, which I've seen, unfortunately. 262 screens is a limited release, and I don't think it ever got above maybe in the 300s.
Really?
So it never was a big opening. And I've got some stuff in there that may be why it wasn't a big open, but who knows? It's rated R, 95 minutes, had a $5 million budget. Its total gross for its total gross total was $3.3 million. Its opening weekend was $635,000. So clearly, you can see why wasn't successful, or I guess didn't get enough. I was gonna say views. Didn't get enough views or hits.
Did you get enough likes?
Clicks.
You didn't
get enough
subscribe
clicks.
to Near Dark enough?
Not enough people clicked on Near Dark. The week before, the 25th, September 25th will be the week before. Yeah. The Princess Bride came out limited. And then on October 9th, it was a wide release. So everybody knows what The Princess Bride is. The bigger movie. I think we had another movie where it was a sorcerer, where it was smack in the middle of the limited release of Star Wars and then the wide release of Star Wars. Wasn't it? Like, I think that
it
was
was Sorcerer, not Star Chamber, yeah.
So even though the Princess Bride is not Star Wars in terms of its gross, but this movie is right in the middle of a limited release. It's popular, a wide release of a big movie.
Yeah.
So this, I don't know, just kind of like symbolic of that.
I'm kind of surprised Princess Bride is October, though.
Well,
It seems more like a December. Yeah, okay, because it's limited, yeah. Because it seems like more like a Christmas time kind of movie.
Well, if you look at The Princess Bride, it's not. I mean, is that really can you really say like that's a summer movie or a holiday movie? Because they probably didn't know what to do with it.
I would say it's like a November movie.
Well, I mean,
nowadays, yeah. I
Yeah.
can't speak to 1987.
True.
So
This is true. You can't. The week before the 25th.
I was born in 1987.
Oh. So Mike was. You were born in what year?
I was born in May.
That's right.
I was 5 months old. I was
5 months
not
old.
quite yet.
You were not.
5
You
months
didn't go
old.
see Near Dark in the theater.
My parents didn't take me. It was
Parents
weird.
didn't bring you in for free and sit down.
No, my parents were responsible.
Child doesn't pay, right?
They did not bring me to see a movie until I was like 4 or 5.
Side note: we have many parents that come in with kids under the age of 4 or 5 to see horror movies.
Oh, yeah.
For the midnight show, many, many, many times. More times than it. We just don't. We shake our head. Back to this. So the week before the 25th, the 18th, Fatal Attraction came out. So that was a pretty big movie, obviously, cooking bunnies and whatnot.
Bunny gone.
And then on the flip side of that, on October 9th, I told you The Princess Bride was wide release. We also had 3 O'Clock High, which, did you like that movie? Did you see that movie? Buddy Revell. No one touches. They had the fight at the end.
No, I've seen it a long time ago.
That movie's awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
I barely remember. I know I've seen it, but
And then the Diane Keaton in Vermont making jam, Baby Boom. You don't remember that one?
I don't know what that
So
is.
she plays a exec in the city, and I don't remember if she adopts a child or she gets a baby, but it's not. I don't know if it's her sister's or something. For some reason, she gets a baby. I don't think she adopts it. I don't know. I'm doing that disservice. But she takes the baby, moves to Vermont to raise the baby, and she's a person in the city, back in the country, doesn't know what she's doing then. But then she ends up making jam and selling it and becoming. She has a love interest with Sam Shepard, who's like the vet. I think he's the vet. Yeah, I liked it.
Cool.
Don't look at me like that. I liked it.
Well, I'm just listening. It sounds like a Lady Doc Hollywood.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not Doc. No.
I'm doing it a disservice, but I haven't seen it.
Doc Hollywood's Cars. Everybody knows that. So, and then I don't know why I have this. Oh, I know why. So on October 23rd, you have the movie Prince of Darkness that came out. The only reason I have that is because that's the next horror movie after Near Dark. So I thought maybe, because that's, more people know Prince of Darkness. And you're looking at me like you don't know it.
I'm just trying to familiarize myself with Prince of Darkness.
That's with Bill Pullman. You've never seen that?
Is that the one with like the creepy vampire guy?
Yeah, you're gonna have to be more specific than creepy vampire guy.
I'm trying to look up some photos.
Well, as you look that up, I will continue to give you more.
Give me more facts. Give me more facts.
Okay. So this movie is directed by Kathryn Bigelow. You may remember her from Hurt Locker, Strange Days, which is something we'll be doing soon. Point Break, Zero Dark 30. This movie is also written by Bigelow and Eric Red, who is what I know him from in terms of what I looked him up was The Hitcher. Did you figure out what Prince of Darkness is?
This lady has no face. I have definitely not seen this movie. This is not what I thought it was. But it looks pretty gross, so keep it on the docket for next year's, though.
What's up, Prince of Darkness?
Prince of Darkness.
I can't believe you don't know Prince of Dark. Donald Pleasance?
No. I mean, it looks
John Carpenter?
I'm looking at all the people.
And you don't know this movie?
I am really surprised.
There
I
are
don't
some
know
horror
this
fans out here that are shaking their head.
Listen, I'm shaking my head. I took a class in horror films.
Shame on you.
In college,
I'm starting to think you didn't. Everybody. Anyways.
That's pretty sad.
Anyways. So, like I said, directed by Kathryn Bigelow. She wrote it as well with Eric Red. Shot in Arizona, Texas, and parts of California. This was the last movie produced by DEG Entertainment. Now, do you remember that from our last couple episodes ago?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So DEG Entertainment, for those who don't remember, was formed in order to release Blue Velvet, which was 1984. So now 3 years later, this was the last movie because the studio went bankrupt after this movie.
They kept taking too many risks.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, so it went bankrupt, so no publicity for Near Dark because of that, which is probably one of the reasons why.
It's got a pretty decent cast.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, Lance Henriksen has already done Aliens.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like Henriksen and Goldstein, which you may remember as Vasquez from Aliens.
Absolutely. And John Connor's stepmom.
Okay. And
Wolfie's fine.
And Bill Paxton, who I dearly miss in movies and TV. Rest in peace. They all three came from Aliens because Cameron, I don't know if they were married at this point or they were dating, but they were together.
Right.
James Cameron and Kathryn Bigelow, and I think he just said like, "Hey, use these guys." And actually, they were going to use Michael Biehn was supposed to play Jesse Hooker's part, Henriksen's part, but he didn't like the script, so he opted out. So you could have had Michael Biehn in there instead of Lance Henriksen.
I really like Michael Biehn, but I think Lance Henriksen, well, he really does a great job at this part, but also he looks more the part. When you see him, it's like, oh man, that is really. I believe him, like, he fought for the South, and he looks gaunt, and I don't know if Biehn really would have...
Well, the South part is actually all from Henriksen. He's the one that suggested that in their when they were, creating the character.
Hey, Jesse, there's something I've been meaning to ask you.
Yeah, what might that be?
How old are you?
Let's put it this way. I fought for the South.
South.
We lost.
But also, Henriksen has a I don't want to say, maybe he does have a B-movie Halloween horror cult following.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
From Pumpkinhead and stuff like that. So he's in a lot of that stuff, too. I didn't look and see if, that was before this movie or when it came after. Maybe, after he did Near Dark, he just started doing a bunch of these other things. But
yeah, spitball from there.
That was kind of where he... And still is, I think, where he kind of...
Pumpkinhead was the year after.
Okay, so where he kind of ruminated was in that world of horror and stuff like that. So, no. So I definitely think that maybe this movie, helped him along in terms of, in that career path, which is good.
Right.
This was also released the same year as The Lost Boys, which came out in July 31st. So I guess much like when you see, Deep Impact and Volcano, Armageddon, Deep Impact,
yep.
Volcano, and Dante's Peak... movies with the same kind of premise come out at the same time. So I think probably what else might have hurt Near Dark was it wasn't the Lost Boys, and the Lost Boys has like all young Hollywood in there, and they're all like got all the music and
It's more fun and it's more accessible
yeah.
than this film.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, with the Lost Boys, and we'll get into a little bit with Near Dark, the Lost Boys, they've got fangs. There's more of the vampire lore in here. In Near Dark, it's more like you don't know what the rules are, and they never say the word vampire in the movie.
Yeah, I've got that in my notes. Yeah.
So it's not really like this is a vampire movie. They're just, these guys suck blood. Obviously, they are vampires, but we're not going to admit that. So they kind of do that kind of way.
Yeah, I feel like they know what vampires are.
Well, they won't say it,
But they won't say it.
Right.
But I feel like, especially when Caleb gets back with his dad, and he's like, can a hospital fix this?
And he's burning it.
Like, I'm not quite human anymore. He knows. Like,
Yeah.
they don't want to say vampire, but it's like when the Walking Dead only calls zombies walkers.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Call them zombies. You know what they are.
Well, part of the reason maybe why they don't include the vampire name or kind of reference it too much is that this was originally going to be a Western, and Bigelow and Red wanted to do a Western, but they couldn't get funding. So they were suggested, hey, why don't you mix genres? And they wanted to combine horror and Western. So that's where they came up with this. So, and I guess maybe someone suggested them vampires because not only was, The Lost was 87. So clearly, we're saying this movie was released in 87, but this movie probably was shot in 86. Maybe early 87 or probably mid 86, which means Lost Boys was in production.
Yep.
So they already knew that, oh, yeah, this is hot now. This is going to be the big thing because in 85, Fright Night came out. Fright Night was big. So I think probably someone was just like, vampires are the thing now. Why don't you make you guys vampires? And then that's where you get Near Dark.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. This is
No,
how
not
it
at
comes
all.
together. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I have for facts in terms of just kind of like the production in and of itself, the creation of it. So when was the last time you saw it?
So I have seen this. I watched this in film class, not the horror film class, just film class.
Well, you didn't watch Prince of Darkness.
I
so
know, right? So I had to watch this in film class. I had already seen bits and pieces, but never the full film. And I really enjoyed it when I watched it in film class. And then I probably watched it, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, I really enjoy this movie. I enjoyed it then. I enjoy it now. There's a lot to like about this film.
Right. Well, one thing that we had the problem with, or you had trouble with, was finding the movie. Like I
Which I was
own the movie.
surprised about.
Yes, I was surprised as well. I own this movie on DVD, and Mike actually borrowed mine.
Yes.
But we could not find this movie streaming. We could not find this movie on like Stars or HBO or anything like that.
Couldn't even rent it. Couldn't even purchase it digitally.
I don't know if you could rent it from Amazon on disc, but it was available to buy, obviously. But
I only saw like
even-
used copies for like $66.
Yeah, I was, and that might be just maybe it's locked up in some kind of litigation. Maybe
It
like
must
they
be,
don't
because,
have.
I
Yeah,
mean, I don't want to, not say, oh, no, they're making money off of dead people. But that's what happens when actors die. Usually,
Sure.
the studios try to do a push like, oh, he's in, the cultural zeitgeist now. Let's push this out. Bill Paxton passed away, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now?
that's a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but not too long ago. You'd think they'd have put out a new version or put it back out digitally to purchase, but
Maybe they
It's
did.
nowhere.
I mean, if he died that while ago, he died in 2017, February 2017. So
2 years.
yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't do
almost
another
3 years
push.
in this February. Yeah.
like a Bill Paxton collection, because this would definitely be in it.
Well, what's funny is that they announced a remake in 2006, Rogue Pictures and Platinum Dunes.
I thought they had announced something.
and then
a
they
long time ago.
canceled it in 2008 because it was because of similarities with Twilight. Which, number one, why are you
What?
making a sequel to Near Dark and you're making it like a Twilight movie? I don't understand that. And number two, why are you afraid of Twilight? If you are making the Near Dark remake similar to how it was, how it's dirty and gritty and it's,
Right.
you know what I mean? Twilight's nothing like that.
Your fan base is completely different.
Right. So I didn't get that. And also, I don't know if I'd want a remake. I can understand a sequel, maybe. You're not
I-
going to get the same characters. They're all
Well,
gone.
Fun fact in my notes at the bottom.
Ooh, nice.
So I talk about they could easily do a prequel, but they'd have to re-release the movie somehow. They'd have to show these characters again so that you can look back on Jesse's backstory, or even it would be weird and kind of creepy, but that might work to it if we went back and saw Homer's backstory as prequels. So if you did a sequel to this,
Okay.
you would have Caleb and May broken up. Clearly, they don't really know each other. That's
I'm a
that's
human
the whole
now.
thing.
F
yeah.
you.
But at the end, they hug, but you don't really see much more of that. So
Which I didn't like. I didn't like the ending shot.
The last shot?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan.
At first, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's weird. But then I thought, well, actually, when they pause the screen cap, what you get is Caleb in darkness and May in the light to kind of show, and they're hugging. So May took Caleb from the light, this happy family, and pulled him into darkness, showed him this world of darkness. Caleb did the opposite by the end. He pulled her out of this world of darkness and showed her the light.
Right.
So she's bathed in light, he's bathed in darkness, and that's kind of the yin and the yang, the kind of like what they've done for each other.
I gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's kind of like in Rocky how Sylvester Stallone wanted to get that final shot, his most like when he's hugging Adrian.
You talking about Rocky? First Rocky.
The first Rocky. He pauses it at his most elated moment because that's Rocky at his happiest.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why, Kathryn Bigelow decided, I think this is the best shot for the end of this.
The
film.
original ending was that they were going to go walk out and meet his sister, and they're going to walk out in the sun. The sister was going to start burning, and they were like, they didn't want to leave it like that because that didn't make any sense. So I'm wondering if they shot that, and then they were like, shit, we're not going to use that. Let's just pause it on a still frame.
Yeah, it's possible.
Plus, I mean, that's also, maybe that's a remnant of the style in that time in the 80s.
I think so, yeah, like the freeze frame.
Right. So that could also be a remnant of just kind of like filmmaking style back then. But your point is valid as well.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying it's not right, but yeah.
So anyway, back to the sequel idea. So May is older. They're both older.
Hold
Caleb
on.
and
Is
May.
this like, I feel like we're like, is this pitch session?
This is
Or
like pitch
it-
session, I guess. But if you did it, you could have her be, she didn't end up liking being human. She has no place. She's been a vampire for so long. You can have her having gone off and tried to find another vampire to bite her, which has led her to,
It's only been 4 years for her. She says it. It was 4 years ago.
That's what I thought.
Right, yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I
Either
hear
way,
you.
like, you're
yeah,
dead.
That's a long time.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
dead. You can't go back
You're
to your
dead.
life.
You can't go back to living.
So maybe she tries to go off and try to find a vampire, which are apparently hard to find, although they bite everybody. They bite, turns into a vampire, so...
Yeah, well, that's the thing that we will. I guess we'll just get into it now. There are no set of rules that are set up, in terms of like this is what it is. We're all going into this movie knowing what we've all seen and read.
Yeah, and other things, yeah.
Right.
So, like, the way they turn vampires is you just bite them,
You just get a bite and they stay alive.
and then boom.
Yeah,
All you have to do is not die.
Pretty
There's no
much.
way,
and I would
a couple don't get away. Like, your kill rate's 100%.
But like, and I also, I guess you bite them. It's not. I assume it doesn't. Well, no, it does take because he does feed, so it does fully take effect because he feeds from her. So he's a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, what's funny is
The
too
whole
is
world would be a vampire in, like, a matter of months.
right. Well,
with
one
these
of
rules.
one of the things that I thought was in terms of comparisons to not just other movies but other vampire lore is the science of the blood. And here it's simple. He's like they transfuse his blood. That's a lot of blood to transfuse, by the way, and that's fine. It's a movie, but his father basically transfused his blood with Caleb's, replacing all of Caleb's bad vampire blood with his blood, and it's a simple.
And the dad's not dead or passed out. on the
Right.
ground.
It's a simple simple science that they use here, and there is some kind of like
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, exactly. Suspension of disbelief in terms of that happening. But I'm not like that's bullshit. That's fine. It's fine that that's like that. But in comparison to something like a movie like Blade, where like his love interest in terms of the first Blade, or she's developing this vaccine that's gonna be able to isolate the blood, or so, like it's like the science in Blade is so like blood centric and just so complex and so just kind of like
It's a large part of it.
right. It's a huge part, but like something like this is just like just swap blood out, you're fine. Like so. And I'm fine both ways with both of it. It's just in the comparison to other. That's just one. I'm using Blade as a reference, but there's tons of other things you can like Dracula and all that stuff. You can kind of like compare it to, but it's very
Right.
simple in this one.
It's not scientific and it's not too mystical. It's just
Right.
It is.
Right. And I like the messy dirtiness of this movie. Like I like the just kind of like the grit of the unglamorous life of the vampires, and they're not romantic, they're not special, they don't like guys are running away, they don't fly up and then they come back down and they're like, hey, right in front of, like, it's not like, I like the fact that they're a little bit more mortal than immortal. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not so like
They're not so magical. They're not so powerful that
right.
it's ridiculous. Right.
Because when you have a lot of these vampire movies, the vampires are always like, oh, we take our place. We're going to be they're all powerful. And you're like, how have you not taken over the world if you're this powerful? You know what I mean? Like, and they're like, we've hidden into the night no longer. Like, it's always like that kind of stuff.
Well, that's also, part of that is controlling their number.
Yeah.
In terms of some of the vampire stuff where it's like, oh, we hide in the darkness. We
I
only come
gotcha.
out. But in this, it's like, it's the one thing I don't like is you bite them and they're a vampire right away. It's like the whole world would be vampires. There's none of that aspect of you bite them. Like in most lore, you bite them, you drain most of their blood, and then they have to feed from you, and that's how you get them. But if you just bite them, they walk off and they're, oh, I got bit. All right, fine.
But the
whatever.
thing is that if you're, but if think of it from these guys' perspective, these vampires' perspective, you bite all these people and you turn them all. There's going to be not enough people to eat.
Oh, I get that you have to
Right.
kill them at the end. My
Right.
thing is just, are they that good that
No,
they
see, but-
always kill every single one?
No, I
Does none get
think
away?
I like the fact that like it's.
The simplicity is good for the movie in terms of plot. But
Well,
it just leaves me going,
But I think they're like, I like the fact that they're like survivors. They're not all powerful. They're trying to just survive in the world.
right.
And when they feed, they cover their tracks by burning it so that people don't know that that who they are or look for them or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like that. I just like the grit. I like the backdrop, the setting of the Midwest, Oklahoma, just kind of like everything's dirty and dusty, and then these vampires are not like hey, be a vampire. It's awesome. We shine in the light like in Twilight.
Being a vampire sounds like it sucks in
It
this
does suck.
movie.
Especially if they have to live in they live in a camper and they have to live in a van. It's like
They never wash. They never wipe off their face from the blood. It's like, I would
Yeah.
not want to live forever as a vampire.
no, not the way they are. No.
Which is weird because at the beginning, they kind of set it up that it's interesting, it's romantic, it's something that you can aspire to. Like when May talks about seeing the star and how it took millions of years for the light to get to Earth, and she'll see it go out.
right.
And it's like, okay, I'd like to see that with you. And it's like, all right, that's interesting. And then it's like, it's all just fairy tales and stuff like that, because in real life, then you see how she lives, and it's like, no,
Yeah,
I don't want to. No, that's awful. It's kind of like almost like drug dealing. It's almost like drugs. Like, hey, take these. It makes you feel great. It makes you feel great. And then you actually see people who are addicted to these things going, oh, I just gotta get my next high, and they're gross and disgusting. I don't want any part of this world.
Gotcha. No,
Which is almost kind of the allegory they're kind of doing. Is Caleb gets wrapped up into these bad people. What his dad thinks anyway.
right. So you bring up May, and what did you think of Jenny Wright as performance wise?
She did fine.
Yeah,
I don't know what you want from her. I think she's supposed to be kind of pulled away and separate and kind of
I don't know. I was
absent. Is that what you didn't like?
No. I don't know if I was. Some of the dialogue delivery pulled me out. Now I'm not saying that that's anyone's her fault. It might just be like it's not that maybe the dialogue was clunky, but I just wasn't. There are two things I had a problem with. It was just in the beginning. And I know that they're trying to make this quick romance because they're trying to make, and it's another suspension of disbelief that, they met one night and, they're in love when he pretty much kind of like coerces her to kiss him.
He's, it's one of my notes.
Yeah.
He's a little rapey at the beginning.
Exactly. You come get it. Puts down,
puts
it's like,
the shirt, the keys down his shirt.
Yeah, come on now. And then when that happened, I was like, you're going to deserve to get bit right now, dude.
I was like, you're an ass.
Yeah, this needs to happen to you. Her dialogue with his stuff, it felt like I wasn't really like all in on it. Whether it was because of delivery, performance, or dialogue, or just maybe I just couldn't. It was very difficult for me to buy into the fact that they're gonna, be in love so quick.
I didn't. That's the one thing I didn't remember that well was how they meet, and I think that's why is because I remember all the good parts that I like, because I really do like Near Dark, and I was surprised I didn't know it.
As do I.
So when I was watching it again, even though I had only watched it like 5 years ago, I forgot how quick their romance was and how unbelievable it was.
Hey, what's going on, son? It's what's coming off. Your face. Clean off.
You might as well just kill me then, too.
How you figure that?
Because he's been bit, but he ain't been led.
Oh, shit!
He's turned by now.
Son of a bitch, Jess. He's turned. He comes with us.
I do like that the movie is, 98 minutes, you said?
95.
95 minutes. It's very short.
Yep.
Which is cool.
which is what I like in movies.
Yes, and especially in a horror movie, you don't want it too long. But I think they are missing stuff with in terms of exploring the lore a little bit more, because they do set up this very, especially back then, very different modern noir vampire. It's kind of the progenitor. That and Lost Boys are very much the progenitor of things like Buffy and Angel, and the stuff that comes after that. But also the romance between Caleb and May isn't very strong. When she starts to feel for Sarah and she saves Sarah and stuff like that, you almost don't believe it.
Well, that's the
because
thing.
Caleb's taken so much from her.
Well, going back to that, when she saves Sarah at the end, when they're in the station wagon, she jumps out with him. She meets him on the swing to distract him so that they can take Sarah.
Right.
So I was like, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, we have to get out.
But I feel like in that part, she's still saying what she feels in terms of, I love you, why'd you leave me? But also, yeah, they made her go say that. But, she was going to probably do that anyway.
Right.
But also, when she jumps out of that van and the stunt actress is clearly holding a doll, that doll gets crushed. She lands on that doll's head. When I was watching, I was like, that needed a take two because Sarah is dead now.
I love the 80s. The other point I wanted to make was the Joshua John Miller's character of Homer. I have... it's very difficult for me to watch a kid play somebody who's supposed to be older. You know what I mean?
I have a note about that too because we talked about that on our last episode that released. So this is going to be a few episodes back. So when we talked about House Party,
yes,
and I knew you'd have this note. You talked about how when you prefer actors to be older playing younger
but
characters,
that's teenagers.
Yes. They know that kids don't know anything. But
right.
When you have a kid, they play wiser and older than they should be and more mature.
Yes.
So I thought you would have a problem with this, which I thought would be interesting because I think it's great that the little kid played the older person because they always act like they know everything anyway.
I get that. But there's a part when they're in the bar and the waitress comes up and he looks at her and he's like, oh, and he rips the paper. And what does that friggin' mean? That's supposed to be scary. You ripped a paper.
I think I was confused by that too. It almost looked like there was a shot that they cut out.
Okay.
Because they don't really show her look at him, but
No,
there had to have been a shot where she looks at him funny, and that's got to be his reaction to how she looks at him.
I don't know,
because
man.
she doesn't even look at him, so why would he tear the paper?
Right. I just don't. Maybe it's just the actor at the time. I just don't. I
thought he did a fantastic job. I thought he did a really good job.
Well, this isn't him, but this is because you talked about the ending. So when they break into when they bust into the motel and they're hiding and the shootout.
Yep.
Okay. When the cops surround him and then it's daylight and he starts crying and he's like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out. And she's like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, that's fine. He's deathly afraid of the sunlight. Then they're in the car and she escapes with Sarah and he just busts out, starts running at her. It's like, so now you're not afraid of the sunlight?
Well, at that point, I think he's got such a reason to want to live at this point. I found this girl that I want to turn. I want her.
And I didn't sense that either. Listen, this movie, I was reading about a lot of stuff with this movie in terms of just kind of looking back. And
there's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah,
I think
there's a lot of stuff.
And I don't disagree with anything that I'm reading, but I think people are looking back at this and they're like, this movie's a good movie. This movie's a really good movie.
Right.
But people are really deep diving into this movie and looking for allegories that I do not think are there, and are really kind of finding stuff that I didn't get at all. I was the stuff at the end, when he jumps out of the car.
Yes.
And then they're gonna turn around, they're gonna start running him over, and they all blow up. Severin getting on the truck, trying to rip it out.
Yeah.
These things at the end feel like they're there because this is the end of the movie and this needs to happen.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
There's no real character motivations for me because to me, if these guys are survivors, these people are just trying to I would think that they would just leave. They'd be like, let's get the hell out of here because we don't have time.
I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I also think at this point in the shootout, at that point they're they've been made, they've been seen by so many people at this point. It's kind of we've never been this careless, we've never been this noticed before. Mm-hmm. So at this point, we're going to have to kill Caleb. I don't think they've ever wanted to take revenge. People don't mean anything to these vampires, clearly.
Right.
So this is the first guy that means something to him. And in a bad way. They really want him to hurt. Mm-hmm. So they want to go after him. So it almost becomes, and like we've said before, it's a Western.
Right.
There's got to be the standoff.
I get you. And yes, and maybe on the flip side of my argument would be this: it's like there's so many times now in movies, everything needs to be explained, everything needs to be laid out. You're not supposed to fill in the gaps. It's going to let you know this is what it is, this is what we're saying, this is their motivation, and I get that. And what that ends up doing is that makes your movie 2.5 hours because you're trying to show everybody's motivation, and sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's muddied. Maybe that's the flip side to my argument is like, well, this is a movie that doesn't do that. This is a movie that like you fill in the gaps. You find what we're trying to say here because we're not going to lay it out.
Which is nice.
Right, exactly. And honestly, both arguments I can find validity in. I think just watching this movie and just kind of like, I don't know, maybe I guess I'm having both arguments.
Yeah. Here's the thing to what you were just saying. When you have to look back at a movie and find it for yourself, you're thinking about the movie afterward.
Yeah.
You're going out, you're thinking about it a couple days later, you're going to tell people about it, you're going to have discussions about it. When we watch Marvel movies, when we watch a lot of the movies that because we watch movies every Thursday morning, we'll watch what's coming out.
Right.
We talk about them for the next 2 days, and then we don't talk about them anymore.
Oh, well,
when we talk about movies,
I'm not going to be talking about the movie we just watched for the next 2 days.
Exactly. When we're in the back office and we're talking about movies like Near Dark. We're talking about movies that came out 10, 12, 15, 20, 30 years ago because they let you talk about them. They let you figure things out for yourself. They let you form opinions. This is the kind of movie that makes me want to do movies. This is like, for instance, there's a horror short film competition coming up locally around here.
Plug.
I hopefully get the time to do it. But I've been kind of out of it, not really like that interested in my story idea and stuff like that.
You're all
podcast
now. You're all podcast now.
Basically.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, please.
But like now I'm watching this and I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to do this. Is something I really want to do, and I'm thinking about this movie. All these other movies I'm watching, I'm like, get it done. It's like you say, it's fast food, and this movie is not fast food. This is a meal you have to unpack. This is a meal you have to taste everything. This has got different parts and pieces and stuff to it. Like that. There's a reason that in my general film studies class, we studied this film. That and it took place. This kind of lined up with October, so that's why, I'm sure that's part of the reason the professor chose it. But there is a lot to unpack. There is a lot to think about in this movie. There is a lot that they do with this movie that's very interesting. It is a Wild West vampire noir. So it's. I don't know. It's
no,
I don't know
that's fine.
I don't know where I'm going with this now, but there's more to it to unpack.
It's definitely an independent film because it's a $5 million budget. So it's gritty. It's cheap. I say cheap in a loving way. I like that.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like there's I guess, did you see the thing where Severin's hitching a ride and one guy drives by and gives him the finger?
Yeah.
That's James Cameron.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's him in the car. He visited the set for one night, and that was him. So like shit like that, you don't.
Well, there's also the fact that Lance Henriksen got to build his own character, kind of. It's
he's the
that
one that
kind of stuff
right,
unpacks, and they can create layers to their characters that you can kind of look and see in part of his outfit. And there's also a funny, I don't know if you read about this in your notes, Bill Paxton tells a story about hanging out with Lance Henriksen, and Lance Henriksen, I don't know if he's a method actor, but at this point he wanted to be, really get into his vampire character. So they finished filming for the day in one of the houses. My guess is the motel, probably. And they wanted to go get drinks at the end, bring back some beer. So Bill Paxton and Lance Henriksen get in the car, and Lance Henriksen is full-on Jesse. He's not breaking character. He's still in his outfit, still has the blood and the nails. They go in the liquor store, and he's giving the guy like a hard time, still acting like the vampire, like a tough guy. And Bill Paxton was sure the cops were going to stop him and give him shit and get arrested.
Well, I've got another story for you. He would drive around at night when they went on break and just go drive around as Jesse Hooker, and he got pulled over by a cop, and he was playing. Oh no, yeah, and he was not pulled over by a cop. He picked up a hitchhiker, and he was playing him, and he scared the shit out of the guy, and he felt bad. He wouldn't break character, and he gave the guy $80. So don't worry, but
that's awesome.
He completely unnerved this guy. Then also, so at the end of the movie, Bill Paxton playing Severin has half his face is all ripped off, right?
When he gets hit by the truck.
So
yeah.
I guess every time they were, I don't know if it's the downtown scene or every time a train will always go through. So one of the days he walked over to the conductor and the guy comes out. He's like, "Oh man, there's been an accident. If you should see how I look. You should see the other guy." Like just completely telling him that. They were having some fun. But that's to your point about the characters and what Lance Henriksen was doing with Jesse Hooker. It's like any great filmmaker wants that. You want your actors to just kind of like trying to bring something else in there. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's
Because
what
it means they're really into it, which means you're going to get a better performance out of them.
I think, did we talk about on this podcast about Tom Hanks and about how he in the Burbs episode, he talks about how it's the actor's job to, bring motivation to the character.
Yes, we did.
Not, Right. It's not the director's job to just kind of like give him everything or give the actor or actress everything. It's his job, and which I think is a great note for any actor.
Bringing it back to episode 1.
But yeah, no. So this is definitely a movie that I can understand what you're talking about, making you want to make movies, because you could do this. There's, you know what I mean? Like anybody. Granted, it's $5 million because you do have people that are coming hot off of Aliens, but like.
And you're blowing up trucks.
Let's say, here's the thing though. Let's say Aliens is now. Let's say it came out now. You're not doing this movie. You're not doing Near Dark for $5 million. You're probably not getting these 3 actors.
No.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
a movie Aliens Big came out now, those guys all of a sudden are demanding too
They're
high
off
pitch.
doing Netflix shows or something.
Unless
like that.
they really like and they do it for scale, but that's unlikely.
Yeah, I know. But like this is the type of filmmaking that I think we both appreciate. It's just, I want to do this. Give me $5 million. We're gonna go do this and this. We're gonna go out in Texas and Arizona. We're gonna go shoot this.
One
and
of
they
my
do
other favorite horror movies is Evil Dead. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's the thing I like about horror movies is so many are done low budget, and it's just done by people who are super passionate, who really put something on screen. And even if it's just to scare you, it's an emotion that really like it brings like it stays with you. And that's something that horror films have that not a lot of films have, or that kind of emotion that really sticks with you.
And I hope that comes back. I hope that comes back in terms of. I don't want to say Hollywood. I don't know if that would come back to Hollywood. I think everybody has really looked to the West Coast as like that's where you have to go to make movies, but like you don't. You do have to have connections to distribute your film, and they are on the both coast, New York and LA. But you can make this anywhere. You just have to have quality talent, and you just have quality storytelling. That's what's rare. That's what's lacking, because you just have people that think that they can do things and they can't. But
Right.
There are diamonds in the rough out there, and I would love to see more Near Dark style movies coming out. Like you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm kind of tired of seeing big studio $80 million productions that suck, but are mediocre. Let that, you know what I mean? Like I can forgive a movie like Near Dark because it was $5 million budget, because it was it's a good story. It's short. It's 95 minutes. And it's told like as succinctly and efficiently as possible. Whether if Near Dark was a $60 million budget, bloated salaries, big locations, same type of script, it probably would be 40. It'd probably be a half hour longer. Like I can appreciate the 95-minute version, the one that we're watching now. That's not going to get made now.
Yeah.
The other version.
I mean, if your characters, your filming, your locations, your story is gritty and dark and dirty, your filmmaking should represent that, and this does. Which we haven't really gotten into the filmmaking aspect of it.
Sure. Let's get into it.
Let's get into the soundtrack.
Tangerine Dream.
Tangerine Dream. Bringing it back to Sorcerer again.
Exactly.
It's a great friggin' soundtrack.
It
It
is.
is super 80s.
Yep.
It is super synth. It really fits with the noir vibe.
Yeah. I mean, quite honestly, if you are, I guess, younger than Mike or Mike's age, and you're not a huge, or my age, and you're not a huge film buff, and you love Stranger Things, and you like, the style of Stranger Things, go back and watch some of the movies that Tangerine Dream has scored in the 80s, and you'll dig all of that as well. I mean, that's just...
Absolutely.
Go find the stuff that was the source material for everyone's hottest Netflix show ever. Go watch what everyone is talking about. Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. That's a very good soundtrack.
That's just, yeah.
The other is we haven't even talked about that classic imagery of when they're standing above the bar. So that shot's on the poster. It's on one of the posters. Yeah. So they're all, before they go into the bar to kill everybody, they go up on top of that hill and they got that backlit fog that's going, or it's like fog, but it could also be like maybe like dust. I'm not sure.
Right.
Because they redo the shot later on with Caleb on the horse at the end of the movie, but I think that's fog when he's going up to have their final showdown.
Oh, yeah. When he's the cowboy on the horse, the lone cowboy.
Right. So and I also, one of the other shots I liked was and it's really just like heavy-handed, but that's fine, is the imagery of the oil pumps behind May and Caleb
have that
when
note,
Caleb's
yep.
feeding. Yeah, like I thought that was really cool too. I think that's just kind of like, oh, that's a cool shot.
The mosquito on his arm at the beginning,
right,
too.
the beginning thing. Yeah, no, there's definitely like a lot of stuff that I appreciate the stunt work of Caleb running to the van on fire because that stuntman is on fire.
Oh yeah, his
and he
face
gets
is
in
on
that
fire.
van on fire, and I'm just like, how do they put him out? There's got to be people in the back of the van.
Thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I'm like, he is lit up. I'm like, get in the van. No, there's definitely a lot of stuff filmmaking wise that I liked. Did you like the bar scene? Like the pace of the bar scene?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm
not saying I didn't. I'm asking you.
I like that it's uncomfortably drawn out. It's not like this quick like bar fight that you normally see in movies. It is drawn out, it is dirty, and it is awkward.
Like they're just standing there staring at like her when they kill the waitress.
They kill the waitress and they're drinking, and the bartender stands and watches. The kid's in the back. You get the
James
other two.
LeGros signing. Yep.
The other two like roughnecks are just sitting there, and it's just one at a time. They're just really messing with them, and it's just ugh.
The guy Severin kills that squeezes his head, the roadie kind of looking guy. That's
Yeah.
the same guy from Terminator 2. That he takes his wardrobe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's the same dude.
Nice.
It's like it's just everyone's just working together.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Well, I think Bill Paxton was in the first one.
He's in the
One of
first. Arnold takes his clothes in the first movie.
Yeah, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was trying to think like because the pace is so slow and deliberate in the bar scene that I was like, I'm like, how would I react? Would I just completely run away, or would I just stand there and be like, what the hell's happening? Please leave us alone, that kind of thing. Like I don't know.
Well, you're looking at it. You're like, do I run? They'll catch me. And Jesse's standing in front of the door. Do I fight back?
There's got to be a back door. But I hear you. I hear you.
Oh, what the hell would you do? Like, Jesse gets shot. No, Caleb gets shot in the gut with the shotgun, and he's still walking.
Right.
I mean, at that point,
Shoot him in the head.
it's gross and awesome. Squishing the head, chopping the neck. It's just wow.
Yeah.
How do they do that? Oh, he cuts up the bartender with his spurs.
He used the spur, slice him up. Yeah.
My whole thing though is in a lot of vampire lore, drinking dead guys is gross. Like they're not supposed to like drinking them after they're dead.
Well, they're dying. Like when they kill the waitress, she's bleeding out.
She's
but
bleeding out, so
still
it's living
alive.
blood. Yeah, but he squishes that dude's head. He's done.
But again,
done.
he's dying too. I mean, you could make that argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, you're using what you know.
Right, I'm
outside of
applying
this film.
other
Right.
vampire logic.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just
I do like when Bill Paxton's about to eat. When Severin's about to eat the biker guy, and he's like, "I hate them when they're not shaved."
Yeah, I know.
He starts gagging because he's sucking on the stubble.
gross.
I hate 'em when they ain't been shaved.
And the fact that they don't have fangs. I mean, I'm assuming they do have fangs. They just you don't see.
You don't see them yet because they go in.
Probably because they didn't have the budget for it, which is fine.
18 pairs, like 8 pairs of custom teeth. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Why
know.
bother?
Well, I mean, and in comparison to like something like Lost Boys, it's all you saw were fangs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love the I love when Caleb doesn't eat. I like that whole reaction, like how, because you don't see that too often in movies. Like what happens if a vampire doesn't feed? Like if they refuse to feed, what happens to him? I love the drool that comes out, like the foaming mouth, the infected bite. Like he's just out of it. Like I really like exploring that. And I like how they did that.
The first 25 minutes of the movie, he's walking, stumbling, and all the whole like Caleb's just kind of like ugh, the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, the whole first 25 minutes, you're like, enough already, man. Would you eat?
I like when he eats the candy bar and he throws it up.
Yeah. But I've seen that before too.
Yeah, they don't like food. Yeah.
Yep.
I was like that he got that whole candy bar for just a quarter. The good old days.
So the train ticket was
$14.
Yeah, but it wasn't even. It wasn't even to where he was going. It wasn't even to Oklahoma.
It was the closest city to his hometown.
Yeah,
it's like it's such a small town, which is fine. Not every town has a train going through it.
That's true. That's true.
Taking it back to the cinematography, I really enjoyed the look of the way they used daytime and nighttime.
Okay.
Daytime being covered in oranges and yellows and bright colors, very much looking like a classic Western. And then at night, it's all blues. It's lit up by like streetlights and neon signs. It looks like very minimal production lighting was used,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because you look at a movie like Red Rock West, which was released around the same time.
Red Rock West was 92, I think
92 is a
we
little
said.
bit later. But how we talked about how they just used light. All right, let's just light the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that's also, I would say, that's very similar to Western noir. In this film, they really do pay attention to the lighting in terms of using those neon lights, using the street lights to light everything, making everything darker. I feel like this does a lot better job at making it look more like a noir in terms of like the night scenes, and then changing like the world of the daytime is much different than the world of nighttime in this film, which really kind of shows the human world and the vampire world.
Sure.
Through cinematography, which I really liked.
Cinematography was by Adam Greenberg, and he did the Terminators, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Ghost, Turner and Hooch. Don't cry. But no, yeah, Stinks on a Plane. All right, anyways.
He did Stinks on a Plane?
He did. I'm looking at his filmography here. But yeah, no. So I get you. Great.
I like that use of lights, which is I did notice that the night scenes do kind of represent like kind of the look of the night scenes in Terminator 1.
Mm-hmm.
That was something.
Oh, he did Sphere. There we go.
Hey, the episode no one will hear.
Hold on, we might do that as a Patreon.
That's right.
When we start asking for money because we're bums.
We are bums.
Anything else? Any other big notes you got for me? I mean, I pretty much went through everything. It's 95 minutes and it's lean and it's it's definitely a great movie to watch around the holiday, around the Halloween season because it's.
Oh, absolutely! It's a quick watch. It's not if you're not super into horror movies. If you like the idea of it, but you don't like something too scary, this is a good one to watch. And it's good if you're with a group of people.
Oh, definitely.
And you can't figure out what to watch. You don't know, like, oh, I don't really like horror movies, but I really want to get in the Halloween spirit.
Yep.
It's an easy one to watch. It's not too bad.
It's definitely a double feature material because you want two short movies for double features.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm always a fan of those. I'm always a fan of the double feature night.
I mean, the makeup effects are great. I really like the makeup effects, the costume work. For such a small budget, they did a really good job making like the boils look on their hands.
Yeah.
The burnt effects on their faces, they always look dirty. The fingernails, stuff like that. So I wanted to, point that out.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We're going to point out the filmmaking stuff. Like so much about this film, like a lot of care and effort went into it, and also the fact that it's a female director, which even nowadays is pretty rare for like a horror movie, especially something that's mostly male driven.
Honestly, it's pretty rare in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. And it's really cool to see a female director really take on something, and for a studio to let a female director take on something that's kind of male-driven, violent, act like a horror action western. You don't see that even now, like you said, nowadays.
Yeah.
And for like 1987, for Kathryn Bigelow to go out and do a movie like this,
Well, she can direct.
Oh, she's really great.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm interested when we do Strange Days, and I'm interested to see because it's not Strange Days is not it's not better than Near Dark. I will say that, but I'm interested to hear what you think. Because I like it. I wouldn't sit here. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, like, oh, my God, Strange Days is friggin' amazing. But it's got some really cool stuff. And she's good. I like her. I like her a lot.
Listen, I like the trailer for Stranger Days.
There you go.
Super 80s, so I'm really excited
It is
about it, too.
super 80s from the 90s.
Super, yeah. Super, like, late 80s, early 90s. Like, this is what the future is going to be.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of forgotten partly because it didn't make a lot of money. It didn't, like we talked about, DEG was bankrupt, so it didn't get a lot of press. And it's really because that's odd because there are a lot of, we talked about Kathryn Bigelow, James Cameron. There are a lot of big names in this, the Henriksen, Bill Paxton,
right?
So that's very odd as well. I think it's definitely a cult classic. It's definitely something that I could tell if I say Near Dark to somebody who watches movies, they know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So
the lack of marketing is probably the number one thing.
Yeah,
it's got to be. Like you said, the big names. It's October. It was a horror movie. Mm-hmm. Your next horror movie wasn't until the end of October. It's not like this was overfilled.
Well, do you think that this movie, if it came out now and it same thing, same budget, same thing, and it didn't do well, do you think it would find an audience? Like I think back then, there weren't as many movies and it wasn't as much content back then, so you could find these diamonds in the rough kind of thing. I know I used that already for something else in this podcast. But you could find it, like now you can't. But think of it right now. Like we just talked about how you can't get this anywhere. And this is again going to make me go down the road of how come video stores aren't around anymore. But that's fine. I get it. But you can't get this movie anywhere.
It wouldn't. There's such a proliferation of low-budget horror flicks. I mean, this is a great one, but there's such a proliferation on the streaming sites now that if this failed in theaters, it would just go into there and get dumped, and you would just find it in maybe horror movie like Halloween.
A lot of those low-budget horror movies are not good. Like when you go on Netflix,
but it gets lost in the pile.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
It would be, but it would not only a diamond in a rough, a needle in a haystack.
I agreed. Like that's what I'm saying. Like,
it'd be a lot harder for it to become a cult classic.
You go through the carousel on Netflix, or probably Netflix mostly, and there are a lot of bad things, a lot of bad movies in the horror area that you're just like I can just see the poster going, nope. Yeah. And it's just like you can't, and you're right. It'll get lost. It'll get lost in all that muck.
The one thing that might help it, if it was to be released now and got dumped, and then like Netflix bought it 6-7 months later, the names. You put those names front and center, maybe you'll get somebody to watch it.
But you're not getting those names now. Like similar style names now, like in terms of like where Bill Paxton was in his career then, who is it now? You're not getting that name now. They're not doing that movie. They're not. They're just not.
Well, then you're not getting
anybody wants. True. Lost in Time.
That being said, I would, if they did Near Dark again, I wouldn't redo it as a film because it was already a film. Do it as...
There we go.
Do it as a series. Either don't do the regular story, do it as a sequel series, or just have it take place in the same world with different characters, but try to keep that grit.
I'm a fan of... Here's my thing.
You reboot, it's going to be too big.
No. The series is fine, but I prefer, like, Hannibal. Like, I like the fact that each season was a book. Like, it was going to be a book. Like, and I was, like, super psyched for when Hannibal was going to do Silence of the Lambs, and then they got canceled and all stuff like that. So, if you're like a movie, like a show like Castle Rock, which kind of blends a lot of Stephen King's characters together, kind of like it's like a different take, but like references certain things and stuff like that. I'm okay with something like if there was, let's just say they were doing a horror anthology or whatever it is, and one season was Near Dark, and they weren't going beyond one season. It was going to end. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't going on. It wasn't going to be a continuation of these people for the next 5 years, 5 seasons, excuse me. I would be okay with that.
So you're saying a horror anthology show,
sure,
that takes cult classic horror films, expands upon them in a season, and then you go on to the next cult classic horror film.
I would be like maybe like 6 episodes, maybe 8. I wouldn't go 10.
I dig it.
All right.
The problem, is getting the rights to all of them.
Well, if I'm a big time, badass producer, I'm sure I could do that. I'm just saying that's what I would prefer.
So you're like Jordan Peele, let's say. He's big in the horror scene now. Yeah. He wants to produce something like that. You think the studios would just be like, all right, like we don't know what to do with this. Sure, we'll give you the rights for...
Well, what if he walks in? Yeah, he walks into Universal or he walks into whoever.
Well, Universal is who he deals
with.
Rogue,
whoever.
Which Universal's got a ton of horror movies.
Give me your horror franchises that I can use, and be like, okay, I'm going to do this season 1, this season 2, like that kind of thing. I'm going to do a take off of each of these for just one season. And if you want to do what they do with American Horror Story in terms of like using the same actors and in the seasons, okay, fine, I'm fine with that. Right,
it's very stagey, but yes,
right. But that's what I'm saying. Like something like AMC's doing The Terror, and like they're doing The Terror Infamy now, which is like takes place on a Japanese internment camp back in the
right. It's got nothing to do with
50s. No, I know because again, I don't like this because I read the book The Terror, and when they did the first series with, I was all into that because I was like, I read that, and I liked it. And then they were like, we're going to turn this into an anthology series. Well, don't call it The Terror again. Just call it something else. We're not stupid, but whatever.
Right.
No, I mean, yeah, I would be fine with that. I mean, but like, I don't mind revisiting old stuff. I just don't. I don't want to I don't like shot for shot remakes. Like I still have yet to see The Lion King because I've seen The Lion King. I don't need to see it again. I don't know why. I just don't. And you saw it. I know you saw it. You liked it.
Both okay.
Like I didn't like when they did the remake of Psycho, with Vince Vaughn, Gus Van Sant did that. I didn't like that either because
that was
don't give me something I've seen already.
Remake,
no, I know that. I know. I don't mind retelling stories. Although I didn't get into a fight, but somebody on Twitter was like, "Who would you cast for Indiana Jones?" And I was like, "Nobody." Like recast. I go nobody. No, the role is so iconic that you can't put somebody in there like that. I go, if you're telling me you want to do a young Indiana Jones, which has already been done, and you want to do a sequel with the son. You don't have to put Shia LaBeouf in it, but just recast the son. Okay, I'm fine with that. But Harrison Ford is the only Indiana Jones that I will ever know. And now, you know what I mean? It's too iconic. It's too iconic. Would you want somebody to replay Luke Skywalker in a reboot of Star Wars?
I don't want anybody to play Indiana Jones either, but
Exactly.
it's going to happen. It won't be the sequels to this. It'll be 20 years from now, but someone else will play Indiana Jones. Someone else will play Luke Skywalker. There will be another original trilogy remake. There will be an Indiana Jones remake. Remakes are inevitable. They've been inevitable forever. Stage plays do remakes and stuff like that. And we're going on a crazy tangent right now because this is nowhere near about Near
All
Dark
right, so
anymore.
let's wrap this up. So Near Dark is good. You should watch it. It's if you have not seen it, you should check it out. If you know somebody who loves horror and you want them to start liking horror, you should show them this.
Yep. If you like vampires, if you like Buffy or Angel, any modern kind of vampire
Right.
take.
If you're looking for a horror movie to watch, or rewatch during this Halloween season, this October season, Near Dark.
That's right.
I wish we had a movie we could pair it with. I don't want to pair it with another vampire movie. I don't think they should watch Lost Boys and Near Dark together.
I was going to say, you could do that and be like, hey, here's the 80s vampire.
Maybe. You know what? I wouldn't say Lost Boys. I would say the 85 Fright Night. How about that?
Okay.
Let's pair it with that, 2 80s movies. Or you can pair it with the remake of Fright Night, which you're doing in a couple weeks.
I think that's our final one, yes.
It is our final one for
Final
the
Halloween.
but like that might be a good one.
Yeah, I could see that.
Or The Howling.
Monster
Maybe The
Squad?
Howling. No, you know what? I was watching the Monster Squad the other day. I like the Monster Squad.
I'm not a huge fan of Monster Squad.
You know what? But like I was rewatching it and I'm like, this is like budget Goonies. This is like, let's get the kids that are kind of look like Goonies, but they're not. It's almost like GoBots to Transformers almost.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm just like, eh. And then like I'm watching it, it's PG, and they're talking about his sister's titties, and I'm like, what? Like, so I would remake the Monster Squad, and there's 2 movies that I would remake.
Gremlins and Monster Squad?
No. Monster Squad. If someone's like, Mike, I need you to, you're a big time director now, remake
Okay.
something, I'll be like Monster Squad and Midnight Madness, the Disney TV Midnight Madness with Michael J. Fox.
Really?
Yes. I would remake those 2 in a second. So yeah, I think maybe the Howling would be a good, maybe that would, something a little bit more serious, not
The Howling would be
with
a
Near
good
Dark,
one.
yeah. But no, it's definitely something that you should obviously watch because it's a great movie. It's a great filmmaking movie. Great movie for people who love filmmaking.
Yes.
To kind of like get into.
And acting.
Yeah, everything about
Performances
it.
are great, yeah.
Everything about it. We're all in on Near Dark. I think most of these movies we're all in on. I mean, even though we're nitpicking and stuff like that, it's it's done with love.
Oh, absolutely. If we didn't like these movies, we wouldn't have chosen them.
Yeah,
And you don't really unpack a movie that you don't like.
we're trying to unpack movies that people don't like talk about. I don't know why I'm starting to do the byline for our Forgotten Cinema podcast.
Start it up again.
Hey, what's up? So okay, we're done.
All right. So, plug time?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Go ahead.
I got 2 other podcasts I do. I'm going to keep this one shorter. I'm going to try to shorten it up a little bit.
Nice.
I got Crackin' One Open with Mike and Elise, a podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews where we talk about a different craft beer every week, and then we go over the different week's pop culture news and reviews and what we've been watching. I've also got 2 Player Bros, a podcast by 2 brothers who play way too many video games, where you can join me and my brother Alex, where we talk about all things related to video games, previews, reviews, and news on all current systems, including PC and VR. And those 2 podcasts can be found anywhere podcasts are available. And you can also find us all over the social medias. And that's what I got going on.
I have I have a couple things going on. If you go to my website michaeldfield.com, you'll see a lot of the stuff that I've done. I've also have 2 books out, Adam Parker and the Radioactive Scout, and Adam Parker and the High School Bully. If you listen to this podcast already, you already know that I've already talked about these books. I think I spoke last time about finishing up I'm writing a compilation book.
Mhm.
So I finished up one of the stories and I started a new one. So that's going well. In a couple months, I'm going to be shooting a short film, a horror film.
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes. Kind of had a little meeting about that the other day. So just trying to, a lot of things. There's some things we're going to try in that. So I'm excited about that. And my thing is always writing. That's usually what I'm doing mostly. So I want to be able to put the compilation book out at some point next year. Obviously, I'm not going to rush it, but yeah. So that's it. Next week, our Forgotten Horror will continue. We're going to continue with the movie 1408, with starring Samuel L. Jackson and John Cusack.
Mostly John Cusack. which is kind of exciting because this is the first one that you have not, first movie we've done where you have not seen it through completion. You've only seen bits and pieces, you said.
Well, that's not the. Yeah, that's true. Yes. It's not the first movie I've never seen because that's coming up.
That's coming
the
up
week
as well.
The week after, right?
This is a very exciting time for me.
I don't. I readily admit that I do not get to a lot of horror movies, simply because I'm a big baby. No, because I don't know. I don't say I've been burned. I'm just not into a lot of I'm not a big horror buff. I'll watch them. Someone says like, "Oh, this movie's really good." I'm into it. I love the story elements a lot of times of the horror movies, but sometimes they just don't. Every time I watch them, I'm just kind of like, So I don't know why. I just never got into horror movies as much. But I have seen plenty, so, I don't want everyone to think like I can't watch them.
I'm just excited to have something where he has never seen it before, because now I can ask the question.
This movie sucks. So join us next week for that, for 1408. And thanks for listening. Now, please, like we said before, share and let everyone know what we're doing. And please, rate and review if you can. But we'll see you next week. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.
Forgotten horror.
Stay spooky, y'all.
Please don't. What?
Yeah, that's right.